My name's Caroline. I am the UK trainer of wingwave-Coaching and also a freedom from anxiety expert. It's really been the kind of area that I'd say found me rather than me finding it, because I remember when I first trained in neurolinguistic programming and wingwave, I thought, gosh, anxiety seems such a complicated topic and it's different for everyone, and I hope I don't get any of those kinds of people, any of those topics coming to me. And of course they all piled in. So I really would say that most of this is come from my experience, and my clients have been my greatest teachers. But really, this presentation is kind of like an introduction into how the mind works, and also really sort of what anxiety is. And then I do share a few tips at the end. So first of all, with wingwave, it's basically, it says here 3 methodical elements, but actually it's so much more than that. And a lot of coaches often bring many other tools to their wingwave coaching, but generally the technique was set up initially it's about bilateral brain hemisphere stimulation, which is the eye movements, the myostatic test, which is the muscle test, and neurolinguistic programming, which really helps us to take our client on a journey. When we're able to use neurolinguistic programming with wingwave, it opens up our imagination, the client's imagination, and we can really get inside of their world and understand their model of the world, because everyone's model of the world is different. So even though someone may have had the same experience as us, the same fear of flying or the same phobia of spiders, it's a very different experience for each of us because of the way that our mind works. So wingwave coaching is coaching for emotions. It's called emotion coaching because it really is working with emotions. And as Cora mentioned earlier, no emotion is a bad emotion. All of our emotions are beneficial to us. But sometimes with our emotions, we can be a little bit out of balance. We can be a little too hyper and a little bit ungrounded, or we can be too depressed or too sad. I'm just aware Christiane is translating and I can't see you, so I'm just going to pin you so that, because I know you're translating and I want to make sure that if I see your hand, if I'm talking too fast. Okay, so wingwave is coaching for emotions, and really working with clients, it's always about bringing our clients back into balance again. And sometimes that can be a neutral place, being neutral. Neutral is a great place to be. It doesn't, we don't always have to be on the positive scale. Many people are quite happy at neutral. Some people are more naturally optimistic, and others perhaps more sort of pessimistic or a little bit depressive, and sort of have the glass half empty. But when we work with wingwave and using wingwave, certainly in the area of anxiety, and across all elements and topics, we're always working with where is that, what is the stress, the strength of stress to thinking about a particular event or situation. So we always use a scale in wingwave because we want to find out from a client, if I was to say to you, well, when you think about spiders, where is your stress? Because for some people it's a +10, it's a +2. For others, it could be a -10, or it could be a -2. So in order to really sort of get inside the mind of people, we want to know just how much that stress, the strength of that stress is, and also know with wingwave where we're going. So using wingwave, it's really about getting clients to move further up the scale from where they were. And then we know that, at least we've supported in some way as coaches. So emotions are always moving through us. They are moving energy, which is meant to be natural to us. Nice little emotions sound there. And it is a word for movement. Emotions are meant to move up and out of the body, but they can get stuck in our neurology, causing us to behave and feel in a certain way that sometimes we can't even explain. So with negative emotion, it's often suppressed. The brain sometimes finds it a challenge to process some stressful situations, and our emotions can get stuck. And I would say that most of the time when working with anxiety clients, it's because they have learnt to suppress their emotions. They have taught themselves to push things down. And that is generally because of a reaction from someone or a situation that happened that caused them to feel a negative emotion about feeling negative, that stopped them from feeling safe to express their emotions. So, you know, certainly this is very classic in family situations, in family constellations. If parents have taught, you know, if parents aren't very good at expressing emotion and talking about emotions, generally what will happen is a person has kind of got used to that. You know, to bring an emotion up can actually be a negative thing, or a thing that could cause embarrassment or judgment, or it just gets, you know, shoved away, not welcomed. And sometimes people suppress their emotion because they are worried about the responses from other people. They feel vulnerable, or they just are very private people and don't like to express themselves. But I'd say most of the time in the work that I've done, it's normally because people have learned to suppress. So you'll be familiar with the term sleep on it, and that is, sleep is our natural processing system for emotional balance, and it is called rapid eye movement. And that is where the eyes are moving from left to right very quickly, which I'm sure most of you know about, is obviously one of the most important parts of wingwave. And when we sleep at night, our eyes are moving left to right very quickly, so that we're able to process off the things that have happened during the day, the connections we've made. It's also a chance for the brain to problem solve and to come up with solutions to things. You know, sometimes we can go to bed on a problem and then we wake up the next day and we think, oh yeah, I get it now, I know what I need to do. Or, oh, that argument I had yesterday was a little bit silly and I can laugh about it now. That's when we're in a sort of healthy emotional sort of calibration phase in our sleep. But emotions can get stuck. So rapid eye movement helps to activate the nervous system and get it back online for processing. So just to give you a bit of an insight into the brain, we have the right brain, we have the left brain, and the left brain is very much about logical thinking. It thinks in order, it likes to make lists, it's very literal, it's very linguistic, it helps to help us understand words and say words, it's very linear, and it thinks in sequences and is analytical. And then the right brain is about creativity, intuition, non-verbal cues and facial expressions, the tone of our voice, tone of other people's voices, gestures, posture, body language, big picture thinking, feeling, emotions and images. And so you can see that both of them have a very important part to play in how we take in information, perceive information, and how we express information as well. When out of balance, the brain hemispheres are unable to communicate and rationalize or problem solve. So bilateral brain hemisphere stimulation helps to rebalance those two brain hemispheres. And they need to work together in order to come up with a solution or to accept things. So the subconscious mind, how does it work? The subconscious mind thinks in subjective form, is influenced by our emotions or opinions of others. It obeys the commands it receives from your conscious mind. The mind is easily programmed with repetition and emotionally charged with thoughts and words. The mind likes to think in pictures, images, and sounds. It holds long-term memories. It forms and drives habits, thinking patterns, and behaviors, works like an elastic band to keep you safe, and will often revert back to what it's comfortable and familiar with. So it's working on to keep us safe all the time, really, and to be out of pain. It works on autopilot and default unless we're able to change that. If we can, you know, most people are very much unconsciously living their life, but when we're able to bring things to the conscious mind, we can change them. And it doesn't know the difference between what's real and what's imaginary, which is the wonderful thing about working with the mind, because then we can play around with it and have fun. Stress. So this is just a diagram that I took off the internet, but I just really liked it because I couldn't find a bucket of water with a lid on and the tap running. But this is a really nice metaphor of what happens. And mainly these two in the middle, I think, are the most important to kind of, well, maybe these three, to show really what is happening when we're suppressing emotion. So all the time that we don't express our emotion, all the time that we're not talking about our emotions or noticing them, tuning into our body. Oh, what was that? Oh, that feels a bit uncomfortable. Let me go into that a bit deeper. Or to just acknowledge what the body, you know, the messages the body's sending us. And if we just continuously go through life and we're not talking about our feelings or acting on our feelings and just kind of pushing them down, or push it to the back of the mind, I will deal with that tomorrow, or I'll deal with that another time. That is what the mind is literally doing. But the thing is that as these emotions build up, there comes a time where there has to be a release. And it is like a little bit like that explosion in that bottle there, or you imagine a balloon filling with water and exploding, or the bucket with the lid and the tap left on. It has nowhere to go, so it has to come out. However, it can come out in very unhealthy ways. It can come out in anger, it can come out in depression, it can come out in anxiety, panic attacks. Those are kind of like the lowest expression of not, the byproduct, if you like, of suppressing emotion. So so this is just a little diagram around stress and what actually happens in the physical body. So we start here with fight, flight, freeze. And then what's happening is there is a spontaneous release of stress hormones for around 15 minutes that goes through the system. Blood then is moved to the large muscles such as the thighs, heart, biceps, which need the oxygen for fighting or fleeing, because as most of I'm sure you've already heard the whole ancient philosophy around, I don't know if it's philosophy, but the ancients going out and doing their hunting, and we need to be prepared for if something's going to come and attack us. However, a lot of people are living their life in this way unconsciously when there is no tiger or lion. So, and over a long period of time, it's very, very bad for health, very negative, has a negative impact on the body and health. So there's activation of bloodstream, heart palpitations can happen, blood vessels contract, causing cold hands and feet. The internal system heats up so we can feel hot and cold at the same time. And then during the cooling off of the body, it can break into a cold sweat, and also there's a feeling of nausea. And some of these, when I sort of think of the feeling of nausea, or even the sort of cold hands, sometimes this happens during a wingwave intervention where we could be taking a client through a situation, and they actually do feel nausea, and they do have cold hands, or they feel shaky, or those are some of the feelings that they're actually, as though they're living it. And this is why it's about, the brain doesn't know the difference between what is real and what is imaginary. It thinks it's actually living through that stress in real time. So any future incident that triggers a similar emotion can be recalled by the memory in the nerve cells as danger, causing the body to respond as though it is happening in real time. When a client feels blocked, it's like they are stuck in time. The wingwave method allows a client to finally be released from their frozen time. And in wingwave, when we do an intervention, it's really important that the client knows they're always in control. And so this is when we do the tunnel metaphor. So if we're in the car together and I'm driving and we're about to go through a tunnel, but you have fear of the dark, do you want me to stop or keep going? Because that is very much the experience of wingwave when someone is living through a trauma or a stress or an experience. It is very much can feel like it's happening now. So what we want to do is continue the intervention so that the client gets through the tunnel, comes out the other side and feels a whole lot better and a lot safer. Emotions will emerge and vanish during a wingwave intervention, but would you rather stay stuck or feel the pain and move on? And most of the time, I don't think I've ever had a client say, stop, I don't want to do this, but it can be quite overwhelming sometimes, the amount of emotion that can come up in a session. It can be quite a shock to a client, but it's very much just moving through the body and then done within a few seconds or a few minutes. So what is anxiety? So anxiety is a programmed or emotional response to the unconscious and unprocessed memories. I have identified that anxiety is based on two main predominant fears: fear of not being in control and fear of not being safe. Other fears will likely be present, but these are unique to each person. But I'd say those are the two primary fears that people have when they are feeling anxious and have anxiety or panic attacks. Anxiety can be triggered by many things, in particular a buildup of stress that is added to other past stressful experiences, which can affect behaviour many years later. So an example could be a forgotten subconscious memory of, say, a critical teacher who made you feel deeply humiliated, and that can impact a client's self-esteem, or a parent who put too much pressure on you, constantly seeking to meet their expectations, or a traumatic event like betrayal or loss of someone you trusted or cared about. In these situations, emotions can get stuck, and this is particularly common in childhood because we have much smaller brains and we're not fully developed until into our 20s. So a lot of times in an intervention, we do go to the childhood. So in our young years, we're unable to process emotion in the same way as we do in adulthood, so it does get suppressed. And many people resort to self-medicating or try to manage their emotions, resulting in disrupted sleep, side effects from lifestyle such as alcohol consumption, poor food choices, and in some cases, the side effects of these prescribed medical care stuff that they take. So many things can contribute and exaggerate anxiety and stress levels. EMDR, known as rapid eye movement too, but it was a technique used and created by a famous psychotherapist called Francine Shapiro. So EMDR stands for eye movement desensitization and reprocessing, and is an enforced rapid eye movement that is given whilst a client is in an awake state. It is most famously used as a cognitive intervention in post-traumatic stress disorder, and wingwave coaching is an advanced version of this method, which can also be used in a very light touch way. It can be used for so many different things, even if it's just to wave off of, a situation that happened in the car park in the supermarket yesterday, or it can be the trauma in the childhood. That's a great thing about wingwave, is it's so versatile. But it doesn't have to be, we have to go down a big, therapy route, and it doesn't have to be a heavy experience to get this stuff moved on. I think that's probably like one of the most important things about wingwave to know, is it can be fun. You can actually, we have a laugh sometimes in sessions. We can work with our clients using humor. Wingwave very much works on moving topics through quite quickly generally, so it's good. So yeah, muscle testing and rapid eye movement. So the muscle tests, you may have come across this concept of muscle testing, and it's known also as kinesiology, though we don't really tend to use that word in wingwave, but you may resonate with that. Again, that's another therapy, and that uses muscle response testing to measure the motor response of the central nervous system to a sensory challenge. So muscle testing gains an insight into the areas of stress and imbalance within the body's energy system. And in wingwave, the muscle test is used to investigate subconscious emotions. That's why we call wingwave emotion coaching, because it's using a muscle test like a compass to navigate into subconscious stress triggers. So when the mind is thinking, so how does it work? When the mind is thinking a happy thought or recalling a happy memory, the body will be in a strong state. But when the mind is thinking an unhappy thought or recalling a sad, angry, upsetting memory, the body is in a weak state. So this is how we can use the muscle test in wingwave. We can literally test into subconscious memories, stressful memories. So try that for yourself. Recall a time where you felt unhappy, or perhaps think of a person who annoys you, and notice how it feels in your body when you think about that person or that situation that's annoyed you or upset you or made you angry. Where does this feeling reside? So just notice that now in your body, where that feeling or sensation is. And now recall a time where you felt happy, elated, joyful, or think of a person or animal you love, and notice how it feels in your body. Where does this feeling reside? So it's a very different state and feeling. And you'll notice that the negative feeling was probably felt in a different part, or it could have been in the same area. But there's just a very subtle change into how we feel in our body. And that is the body responding to our thoughts and to our words as well. So you can notice the difference between feeling good in your body and feeling weak. And this is how the muscle test responds. A strong feeling will give you a strong test, and a weak feeling will give you a weak test. And I always say to people who are, if you have a clumsy moment or you fall over, have a think about what you were thinking about before that happened. Because I know I always, I don't fall over as much anymore since I had Wingwave. But on those times where it has happened, I used to be terrible at spraining my ankle, and it was normally because I was just so depressed and unhappy. I was in a job I hated, or I was really stressed at work. The tea would get knocked off the desk, or I'd fall over in the street. That was something I remember, right in front of a busy restaurant. And because I was in a negative state. I was feeling in a stress state. So that's really how the body really can respond to what we think. So imagine if the body can respond to what we think. If we're just constantly thinking negative feelings and negative thoughts, then the body's just going to think, well, things are bad at the moment. What's going on? I'm not really feeling very well. So I'm just going to have some water. Okay. So using Wingwave for anxiety. Anxiety is a culmination of unprocessed stress and trauma, basically. The mind doesn't know the difference between what's real and what's imaginary. A simple thought can create an anxious feeling in the body. So if you think about something that causes worry, whether it's the past, present, or the future, this sends a signal to the limbic system that there is danger ahead, and the amygdala will prepare for combat. So then what happens is you're thinking a negative thought, or, you're feeling stress. The mind thinks the tiger's coming to eat you. Out comes the cortisol, the adrenaline, and this will go into overdrive, ready and preparing your body for fight, flight, or freeze. But of course, the tiger never comes. So when does it end? At what point are we able to then take back control and say, oh, everything's okay now? But in anxiety, it's such a subconscious trigger where the body will literally connect a certain feeling to, well, it was that time where this time where I was in danger, or that time I stood up in front of my class and everyone laughed at me, or that time when the teacher called me out and it was just so embarrassing. It doesn't matter where you are, it can be so irrational, but if that same feeling or sensation has been felt enough times and is unprocessed in the system, then the body will prepare for this fight, flight, freeze. And that's when it can go into a panic attack as well. So anxiety can pop up expectedly or unexpectedly. Panic attacks can happen during the most irrational times. And here's why. I'm going to just talk you through a little metaphor. So once upon a time, on a cold winter's day, there was a man queuing up in the supermarket, and he was wearing a big coat. It was really cold outside. So he was in the very warm supermarket, and he was in the queue, and the queue was quite long, and he was having to wait, and he's in his very big coat, and the queue is taking a very long time to reduce, and he's getting hotter and warmer, and he starts sweating, and then suddenly he goes into a panic attack. Why would he go into a panic attack in the middle of a queue in a supermarket? Because he is a fireman and he has experienced some traumatic events through the heat of putting fires out. And so the mind has associated the heat to being in danger in situations where this fireman has been in danger. So from that, you can see that it's irrational. He's not fighting a fire, and he's not in that traumatic situation, but in a supermarket queue where he gets hot and he starts sweating, the mind thinks that he's in danger. So that is really the very subconscious response, and why people go into panic attacks. They're not able to really, often aren't even able to connect it to things. Often people just won't even know why it's happening. So in Wingwave, we use these kind of subconscious memories, negative charge memories. We call them performance stress imprinting. So again, we have positive and negative emotions. These cause a spike of arousal in the brain. So this could be in a supermarket while scrambling for a parking space, or having additional projects added to our to-do list at work. We're so overwhelmed with work, and then the boss wants something in an hour, or maybe your colleague's been rude or someone's been rude to you. These are what we call kind of like daily mini stress traumas, which we experience throughout a normal day and can be likened to minor physical injuries, such as a paper cut, stump of a toe, or having your finger pricked by a rose, or, just those very minor things. And this is what Francine Shapiro talked about with using EMDR, that when we go to bed at night, we have these, I mean, those are more metaphorical, but these very similar mental injuries are often processed in our sleep. But if our sleep is disrupted or they've been too big to process, that's when they kind of get stuck. But basically after a normal sleep, these very sort of physical, mental injuries are meant to diminish over time, and the memories fade like footprints washed away by the sea into a treasure trove of experience that we can recall without any emotional attachment to it. And normally we can hear about other people's negative stories and process at a level of perception, rationalize and move on. Situations that cause a higher stress arousal, such as someone nearly hitting our car, receiving bad news, will cause the amygdala to ring the alarm bell. And this causes a flurry of adrenaline, which washes through the system, preparing us for fight, flight or freeze. This is also very classic when people are doing presenting and having to stand up in front of many hundreds of thousands of people, or you could even be 2 or 3. The flooding of all of this adrenaline actually can take over certain parts of the brain, so they're not even able to recall what they were going to say. And that's very classic. It's a very common thing. So in some situations, the stress imprints of the day don't get processed and cause them to be pushed to the back of the mind, where they gain momentum on top of other stresses and tribulations in life. So the byproduct of this is suppression, which is anxiety, anger outbursts, depression, emotional breakdowns, panic attacks, and nightmares. And this is just a little picture of a download. So if you imagine trying to send lots of photos to your family or friends of your wonderful holiday, or if you're just trying to send an email with a document that's too big, it will just keep ticking over and ticking over and ticking, doesn't go anywhere. And that's very much how these traumas or stresses can kind of act in the brain. So wingwave works very powerfully for anxiety because through the process of identifying subconscious stress triggers via the muscle test, I can help my client to find the echoes of the past that have resulted into perpetuating fears. And often these are very subconscious and not even the client can pinpoint it consciously. And the same applies for panic attacks. We simply use the muscle test to find the triggers and wave them away so the mind can process in the same way it was meant to through sleep. So we're basically going in, getting that memory that wasn't processed, and then getting it moved on through wingwave. I just put a little testimonial in. There's more. I was going to do a case study, but I think if there are any coaches listening to this, this is probably very familiar. There's just often so much great response to having wingwave, and so many times people say, why did I not find this earlier? And I can't believe that this exists and people don't know about it. So, hopefully together we can really spread the word and spread the love about wingwave, because it is just so transformational. And I'd say even after, I don't know, 8 or 9 years now, and training so many participants, I still see the most amazing transformations, and it still blows me away. Because everyone is different and everyone experiences things differently. But when you see the transformation or the look of the epiphany that they get when the muscle test comes over, oh God, there was that time when this happened, and they're able, the neurons are able to connect, and the neurons are kind of firing off in the brain, and suddenly the thought and the memory comes forward again. And then you bring it to the when you're able to bring subconscious to the conscious, then people are able to acknowledge it, move it on, or come to a solution, or just accept, many different, there's so many different kind of layers. But which one are you? The stress head, the warrior, the perfectionist, or the control freak? I wonder if any of you listening to this can resonate with any of those. I know I can, quite a few. So naturally we can be a bit of everything, but when our thoughts and fears get out of hand, problems are created subconsciously. Fear is simply an illusion about the future based on the past. So some self-care tips for anxiety these are just some tips that I give to clients. The butterfly and wing wave, you may have seen this. If not, this is a really good technique for helping to calm down. You saw Claudia earlier doing the funny thing with the tummy rubbing and the thumb. It's all about getting the bilateral, getting the brain hemispheres working together. So when we are doing butterfly, the sound of the tapping really helps to work the stimulation of the brain hemispheres, but it also feels very nice as well. So it's actually, this is a really nice one for children too, or if you just need to calm yourself down. I mean, obviously you might not be able to, you might be sitting on a train and it might be a bit embarrassing, so you could go to the wingwave music. There's lots of lovely music at the Wingwave shop that you can be downloaded, but there is a free track on the Wingwave app which you can download for free. We can use Wingwave when we work with our clients remote, the music when we work with clients remotely, but I also give the music to my clients to help them sort of move through. If we've done quite a big session, sometimes we want to just make sure that our clients feel supported after the session, and so a bit of wingwave music can help to continue rebalancing. So it's bilateral brain hemisphere stimulation music and can help to keep rebalancing the brain hemispheres, and it's very good for things like creativity, anchoring in positive thoughts as well, but also really good at just basically moving through moving the emotions through the body and settling the mind and the brain hemispheres. Tapping of the vagus nerve, so we always do this with our clients, but this helps to calm down the body and stimulate the nervous system. It helps to put oxygen into the blood and makes the body stronger. And I think this is a really good one. If you're about to go out on stage or do something that just makes you nervous, could be anything, take an exam, a little bit of tapping, perhaps you're about to meet with someone and have a really intense conversation, that will really help to kind of bring stimulation into the nervous system. And obviously deep breathing is so important too. So a lot of people who have anxiety will generally breathe from up here, and we need to get them really connecting with their diaphragm again, and because it's the breath of life, isn't it? If we can get the oxygen moving through our body, it's very calming for anxiety. And then I love to encourage my clients to write out the fears and worries through journaling, because so many times they'll come with all of these fears and worries and you really go into them, and this really works, and then they sort of get into it. So what's the worst thing that would happen then if that happened? What's the worst thing that could happen? What's the worst thing? And then they go into it and they're like, oh well, that's not going to be something like get run over by a bus, or my partner will dump me, things. And then you can say, well, from a scale of 1 to 10, how likely is it that that's going to happen? And just our fears can be so irrational, but unless we connect to the underlying root of what this fear is about, we can't then release it. So it's really important to go deep with that. And often you'll see, the expression on their faces where they just go, well, that's just totally ridiculous. And then actually, a lot of the time, it can be death, fear of death. Well, what's the likelihood of death? Unless someone, has an unfortunate health problem, or, what is the likelihood that if you were to stand in front of, I don't know, 50 people and speak about yourself, what is the likelihood of you dying at that point? So, and then they laugh and it's just all very funny. So if as soon as we can kind of connect a bit of humor to those fears, then the changes will happen within the mind. So yeah, get them to list their fears and worries, write out the worst case scenarios, and then the likelihood of how likely it is that they're going to come to fruition. So an untrained mind is like an excited puppy dog. Train your mind through meditation, scrap the apps. I'm not a fan of apps. I always say to my clients, do Buddhist monks listen to meditation apps? No, they don't. Some people, I think a meditation app's probably better than nothing, but I'm a big fan, people who have anxiety and stress and busy minds, negative thoughts, get them to just, if you just get them to focus on a space on the wall and just say, well, look, you don't have to close your eyes and do it that way, but you could just focus on a spot on the wall and just get them to do it when you're there with them, or try it for yourself. It's just really nice, and you can just really help to strengthen the mind, because it is like a muscle, so it does need training, otherwise it will act like an excited puppy dog. Daily routine of calming the mind will help to train it out of consistent stimulation and analysing. So yeah, I've talked about having your eyes open, find a spot on the wall. You know, often I work with clients who have very busy lives, and it's like, well, what are you know, where are you going to find that work-life balance? Because if a person has anxiety, there will be some things they need to let go of to really help their mind to be more still and clear, you know, clear some space in their life for themselves, clear some space in their life to just at least have an hour a day or half an hour a day to just go and focus on themselves, tune into what's going on in their body, what feelings they're having. Because, you know, like say anxiety and panic is such a very unconscious thing, but we can, when we connect with ourselves, really start to learn what our thinking patterns are, what our silly little fears are. When we really go into them, we can change them and transform them. And then I always say, as thoughts creep in, let them go with love. Focus again on your blank canvas, or a dot in your mind's eye. You know, some people like to have their eyes closed. And seek out a wingwave coach near you. It really is a super effective technique and always great with great results. The website for the international wingwave coaches is www.wingwave.com. And then if for further information on either having sessions or training as a wingwave coach, if you want to come and train as a wingwave coach, feel free to have a look at my website, which is www.carolinerushforth.com, or email me, caroline@carolinerushforth.com. Thank you very much for listening. I'm just going to check the time. Hopefully, yes, 35 minutes, good. So any questions? I'll stop sharing my screen now, actually. Thank you for listening. If there are no questions, then I wish you all a wonderful day, and I hope that you get much from your talks today. It's so many great people speaking. So yeah, have a great day then. Oh, hang on, I've got some chat questions here. Oh, thank you very much. Thank you, everyone. It's been a pleasure. And
thank you, Caroline. I want also to thank you.
Oh, well, thank you very much. But yeah, any questions, do feel free to ask now. We've got about 10 minutes, so.
I have no question.
That's okay.
That's okay.
Go and grab a cup of tea then.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Caroline.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks for coming. So nice to not talk to an empty room.
Thank you, Caroline. Nice to see you.
Oh, nice to see you, Kerry. Good to see you. Hope you're enjoying it.
Yeah,
maybe one. Sorry.
Yeah.
Sure,
go for it.
I disrupted someone.
Sorry, Nora. I can see you all now. I just fiddle around there. Nora, yeah.
Does it work the same good for you if you do it online?
I've had really good experience using Wingwave online, and it is something that I wouldn't have done, I don't think, if we hadn't had the recent times. Yes, very well. Using the music, using the eye movements. I'm actually hoping to be launching a neuro resources training in the autumn, which will give you much more insight in how Wingwave can be used online as well. So that, look out for that. There'll be updates on my website as to when I'll be delivering that. So are you a coach, Nora, or are you a participant?
I am coach.
Uh-huh.
Yes, and I had a little experience with working online in the beginning of Corona. Somehow I didn't have the chance so much to use it later. I'm not like, I am a coach, but I don't use it very much right now. And then, it keeps getting back in the consciousness somehow.
Well, I will be doing, there's also a training called Wingwave Online training, which is I think it's like 2 to 3 hour training, which I'm going to be delivering for my new Wingwave participants in the UK. I'm not sure when that's going to be. Everything keeps getting moved because people can't get flights in and all of that. So it's a little bit all over the place. But I am planning on putting some Wingwave Online trainings in. So you're welcome to join us for that. And again, just if you check my website, that's where the most up-to-date dates will be for any English trainings, basically. Yeah, there's So I need to update it, but I'm just waiting to see when I can do it, because yeah.
Yeah, thank you. I'll check it up.
Yeah, okay. Good to see you, Deborah. Daniela.
Yeah, nice to see you.
Yeah, how are you?
Yeah, very good. I enjoyed that.
Good.
Yeah, and nice to see some of the other English coaches as well. So really lovely. I think it was really straightforward and clear.
Yeah, exactly. And we want to see more UK coaches join us. So yeah.
That will be great.
Yeah. So you're looking forward to your talk later?
Yeah, definitely. I'm really excited. Yeah.
Good.
Looking forward to that. It's going to be fun.
Yeah. Are you well, Deborah?
Yeah, no, I am very well.
Good. Enjoying Wingwave?
Yes, no, it's been great. It's been really, really just great to use. I mean, it's interesting listening to someone else about it online. I don't think I've had such good results with it online. I did the training.
The neuro resources, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I did it once when I had with a couple, and the other one did the testing for the other one, and that worked well.
Did you come on the online Wingwave coach training?
Yeah, I did with Laura. Yeah.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Last year, I think it was, wasn't it?
Yeah.
In May or something.
Yes, it's good for sort of learning some new techniques on how to reach people online. Certainly.
It opens up a huge market, doesn't it? Suddenly?
Yeah, it really does. I mean, I've been able to work with people much further out, and I mean, it's been a bit of an experiment for me, really, because I'm much more of a fan face to face, and I mean, people have even come to Brighton, you know, from all over to have it, because the face to face has been so important. But actually, I've got a client in the US at the moment who's had great results. So yeah, it's like brilliant. I mean, you know, the muscle test is obviously absolutely amazing for really getting to the core of things, but we can certainly reach many people and do some great work just through the
looking at their body and their body's reaction.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it is just about using, you know, questioning techniques and a bit of NLP to explore what's going on for them, and sort of being able to go in a bit deeper and getting them to connect with those emotions. But I gave up using the scale because it's like reversed on the screen and it was just getting confusing. So I had to say from a scale of 1 to 10.
Yeah. I think the app works brilliantly. So if you got you know a bit about the limiting, and you can pick them up really quickly and use the scale and the app, it works really well. So I felt really a lot of success was just using the app with clients.
Yeah, brilliant. The app's brilliant as well to give people a taste of how the music works, isn't it? Before
it's brilliant. Yeah,
no, it's really good.
Yeah, I've had recently somebody who was very scared going into hospital. She had loads of like negative, and then because her operation was something about that made her actually fixing a problem she had for years, and she turned it into a really exciting event, and how great she's going to feel when she's had that done and so on. And she when she had it, she said she was so at ease and so at peace and almost excited going there. And I used it on myself on the dentist chair, just listening to the app.
Did
and
you?
then said like, whoa, that makes my work so easy. But what's that? What's that app? And I was zoned out, completely at peace.
Were you? So you have a bit of a dental phobia then?
No, not really, but it was quite hard work that I had to do. So I got
I've really found Wingwave music brilliant in turbulence when on
the flight. Yeah,
that's happening for a while now. But coming back from I can't remember now. It's long haul, and oh my god, it was so like ooh. But I just put the music on, and it was a really strange feeling of knowing what was happening but not being stressed about it. It was very strange, but I just felt fine. You know, it was really good.
You know, when you were saying you don't recommend the apps for meditation, would you recommend that people listen to the Wingwave music? And
oh, absolutely, yeah, because that's doing something. I mean, I just think the thing is that when people are holding an app, not only are they holding an electronic device that is actually quite bad for the energy field of the body, but also because the body is weak. Whenever we're holding mobile phones, you can see the tests being done. You know, if you could do it yourself, get someone to hold their arm out, hold the mobile phone get them to hold their arm out, get them to press their arm without the phone, and then you'll see the arm strong. Get them to put the phone to the heart and the arm goes down. It's just so obvious. So I'm not a fan for that reason, but also people need, when it comes to things like anxiety, and if they've got busy minds, having just a meditation app is just stimulating the mind even more. What we need to do when working with people with anxiety is bring that down, and get rid of the stimulation and just strip it all back. And that is where the magic will happen. And
but that's like, if you work with that, like biofeedback, for example, that's a lot of technology as well, where you train your brain actually to get to access, and you get the straight feedback. And so I don't know. I think at the end of the day, it's everything in moderation. Yeah. But if someone's got a busy mind, then personally, the last thing I want them doing is being on their phone. I want them away from the phone. I mean, an MP3 player maybe with the music on. But you see it in gyms as well. People are on the running machine on their phone, like talking and texting. And, when are we actually taking time away? Pardon? Me too. I'm listening to the wingwave music. Are you? Oh, okay. We won't tell anyone that. I'm sure it's just the wingwave music. But we need to go back to ourselves. How can we hear ourselves if we've just got all this noise coming in? I mean, I'm very auditory, so I'm very much passionate about just peace and tranquility and quietness. And I've been that person that's come from depression, and I had a bit of anxiety, but I know that the thing that got me through it was having negative thoughts. We've got these default thoughts coming in when you're just feeling really these flickers of negativity. You need to work out what they are and start to learn about your mind. And when you still your mind, those thoughts can't happen. So as you're stilling your mind, you're creating a muscle, and eventually they disappear. So yeah, I'm a big fan of that. But I mean, everything in moderation is okay, isn't it? Yeah, definitely. That's what the Buddhists say. Exactly. The middle way. Yes, the middle way. So I don't know, do we have to go? Do we stay, Christiane? Yeah. I think it's 1:45, isn't it? And then there's a bit of a break, and then the next one. Yeah, so we have a break now. Exactly. Yeah, feel free to email me, and keep an eye on the website for more training. I think it's really exciting. Cora's putting now we're able to do these trainings online, and they're getting translated, so I'm able to give more. Let's grow Wingwave. Woohoo!